All right, all right. We should be live, folks. Let me see here. I'm going to give it a second while everybody pours in. Look at everybody. Woo!
Oh, they're rolling in.
Rolling in. Incredible. All right. It's 12:03. So I'm running a couple minutes late. We had some technical errors on my end, and so we're going to jump right into this. First off, to our panelists, I want to thank you guys for being here today. I am super, super excited about this. We've got a lot to cover in just an hour, so we're going to get right into it. So the truth is that although home values are continuing to rise and everywhere we turn, there's multiple cash offers. We've got cash buyers coming out of the woodwork. We're truly in one of the toughest markets of all time working as a listing agent. Sellers aren't selling, and that really means that it's more work for us and less commission for most agents. So the question is, and the reason we're here today, how is it that this amazing panel of listing agents that we have in front of us today are overcoming those odds? They're actually going on 10 listing appointments a week, getting them sold for above ask price in just hours. So for the next hour, all we're going to be doing is learning exactly how you guys have taken control of your business and are outshining the competition in a market with a massive shortage of listing opportunities. All right, quick disclaimer here. To make the best use of our time for everybody, we have a lot of people on here. So do me a favor, any questions that you have, as they pop up or come into your mind, just do me a favor and drop those questions right into the chat box below. We'll get all of them. And what I'm gonna do is I'll make sure that we're not too long-winded. And at the end, we'll save some time for questions and answers. So without further ado, let's get started with some quick introductions. So everybody here, do me a favor, and I'm gonna have our panelists just in 60 seconds or less. I'd like you each to introduce yourself and share how long you've been with the Dave Friedman team and what you were doing before joining the team. And go.
All right, I'm Lynette Doobie. I am a listing specialist on the team. I've been on the team for almost 2 years. And before I was on the team, I was doing resale. I was licensed for 15 years before joining the team. I did new construction for a while, and then I worked with a trustee and did a lot of distressed properties as well.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Lynette.
I'm Owen Costello. I've been on the team for 2 years as well. Lynette and I actually started on the same day about 2 years ago on Friday, I believe. So I started as an inside sales agent, actually, became a listing agent about a year ago. Before I moved down, I was up in the DC area franchising Jimmy John's. So kind of shifted my focus of my career, but I'm down here and I've loved every second of it.
Fantastic. Great job. Man, if anybody wants to know who the best person to go to for a Jimmy John sandwich is, it's Owen Costello, no question.
I can make it freaky fast, I'll tell you that.
That's for sure. You can. Hey, I'm Brett Kelly. I am the team's outside sales leader, and I've been with the team for over 5 years now and have gone from when I started as an inside sales agent to a buyer's agent, as well as then a listing agent on the team. And background before that, I was in corporate sales, and before that, I was working on baseball fields and found my way into the world of real estate and haven't turned back ever since.
Love it, man. That's great. And there's this random guy named Dave on here, I think it is. Who's this guy?
Yeah, who let that guy in? He keeps showing up and we have no idea why. Hey guys, Dave Friedman, super excited that everyone's here and our opportunity to share everything that we can with you. And I'm from Michigan originally and moved down to Charleston here about 13 years ago, and got my real estate license when I was 18. And and so we've got our team, which y'all know about, and we're excited to share. And again, let us know what kind of questions you have. And if you could, just so we it really helps us cater to the crowd in what we talk about, and kind of change the level of the conversation based on the kind of experience you have. I would love if everybody could drop a comment in and just kind of share a little bit about yourself, maybe how many years you've been in the business and maybe how many homes you sold over the last 12 months. And that way we can make sure to cater to, the masses on what's going to best help everybody.
Love it. Awesome. Okay, we're at 12:08, so I'm gonna move on from here real quick. And Dave, I want to start off with you. And the question I've got for you, man, is we're in a crazy market right now. That's the truth. So what's causing this extreme sellers market that we're finding ourselves in today?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things, and I think they've kind of compounded on one another. First is, COVID, obviously. I think there was a lot of fear in health concerns and, being near people and letting people into their homes. So a lot of people didn't want to put their homes on the market when COVID hit. And, I think that had a big thing to kick off where we are today. There's been a lot of people that have still been motivated enough to put their home in the market and sell. But I think through all of that, a lot of people with time off and also health concerns decided to do a lot of home improvements to their home during that time. I mean, there was record amounts of construction going on with home improvements, and now it's mostly new construction. But for a while, it was hard to find some building supplies. Back when COVID first started, when logistics shut down and shipping shut down and stuff going on with tariffs. So I think a lot of people improved their home and decided to stay as a result of that. And I think in addition to that, a lot of people right now, they're looking at what's out there and thinking about potentially trading up. A lot of people usually like to trade up. There's some that trade down, but a lot of people have concerns about putting their home in the market because they don't see anything out there that they want to buy. And I think in a lot of my casual conversations with people that I come into contact with, a lot of them have said that they've considered buying and moving. However, they don't see anything out there that really fits their needs within their budget. So I think that's had a big part to do with it. I think there's great ways to overcome all those things. However, that requires getting in front of those people to begin with and having those conversations. However, I think a lot of people are not reaching out to realtors, not considering moving just because of what they see online. So I think those are a lot of the things that are impacting the market right now. As health concerns seem to lessen a little bit, I think more people are becoming confident with putting their home on the market, letting people in for showings and that kind of thing. However, as we all know, I mean, it's super low inventory. So there's definitely some other things that are keeping people off the market at this point. Largely, I think it's because of pricing at this point, but there are a lot of things that led into that.
We've got so many things, so many factors that are impacting the market that we have today. As you said, we had COVID, which was a really big impact. You had a lot of folks that were working on home improvements, and then all of that got backed up again as a result of COVID. Then we've got sellers that probably would sell, but they're going, man, I just don't see anything out there available. So where are we today in the market, and where do you see this going from here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, from a realtor's perspective, I remember when there were 5,000 realtors in Charleston and then 6,000, and I think there's like 7,500 now. And if you think about how many active listings there are, what are there, like 1,300? And then if you take out new construction, I think we're down to like 1,100 tops. You think about that. I mean, as a realtor, as there's more agents that get into the market and fewer sellers that are on the market, there's 7,500 realtors and 1,100 active listings. So there's a huge disparity in spread. So realtors are definitely feeling it more than ever. And it's not only because there's fewer sellers, it's because there's also more realtors. When the market gets really hot like this, everyone wants to go run out and get their license and also become an investor. So I'm sure you guys have seen that trend too. And we probably have a lot of newer agents on here, and I hope we do, so we can share some value with y'all. But where are we headed? That's a good question. I don't really see any end in sight for the market that we're in, because the government's pretty committed to keeping interest rates really low for a long time, which is going to keep a lot of buyer activity out there. They want to keep rates low because it has a lot to do with keeping the economy very healthy. Some things that might potentially slow it down, or some things that are completely unforeseen, like a pandemic, for an example. If you remember, before the pandemic, we were wondering what was going to slow the market down at that point, and it was something unforeseen. So that could happen again. Inflation, home prices, we might hit a point where buyers just say, hey, I'm just not willing to pay that much for that home anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to rent, or I'm going to continue to stay in my home and not change my situation until I see prices change, or maybe my income go up to match where the pricing is right now. So I think a lot of that comes down to people's perception. Another thing too, I think a lot of people remember what happened in 2007, 2008. And that wasn't that long ago for a lot of us, not just in real estate, but just the public in general. And so I think a lot of millennials that were younger at that time, I think saw a lot of their, family members, parents and such go through a tough time with housing prices dropping and unemployment. And so there's a lot of millennials that are on the sidelines that are now just entering the market finally, which I think is going to, again, continue to put a squeeze on inventory and months inventory as more buyers enter the market, and still, again, few sellers come on the market. So, hopefully when we get to herd immunization and the CDC is just saying that there's no more health issues out there, a lot more people will put their homes on the market. But for the time being, I don't think anything is going to change. I think it's just going to be a very aggressive seller market.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you said too about millennials entering the market and almost compounding this. So even as the CDC does start to reduce the level of fear that the public has, maybe more sellers come to the market, we're almost combating that at the same time with more buyers entering the market.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are the pros and cons of a seller's market?
If you're a seller, obviously it's great. You put your home in the market and sell it for over asking price in record timing, so
I would.
Yeah, that's incredible. People that own investment properties, it's a really good time for them to unload. Some of the as far as for realtors go, some of the pluses is if you can get your hands on a listing, you're good to go. It's not very challenging to sell. I think finding the sellers and convincing them to list with you is a completely different picture and very challenging right now for a lot of people. But so as it relates to realtors, I think the cons are, listings are such a great thing to have in real estate, no matter what kind of market it is. And considering how challenging they are to come by for most people, it's definitely put a squeeze on them. And then, some of the cons, if you're a realtor, obviously working with buyers, a lot of people, there's only one offer that a seller is going to accept, and most new listings are getting multiple offers. So for for somebody with a buyer, it's taking you much longer to get a buyer under contract, because you're potentially having to make offers on several listings out there instead of just making one offer on a listing at 5% below asking price and getting it accepted. You might have to, reset expectations with your buyer several times, try to get them approved for more money, so there's a lot of challenges out there that are presented for people like us in the industry.
Yeah. And that's what today is all about. And I'm so glad that we've got the opportunity to get you all together. So again, thank you. Let's pivot from here real quick. I want to shift over to, this question is for both Lynette and Brett. So either one of you can go first. What was your career like in real estate before joining the team, and how has that changed since being a part of the team?
I'll go. So I had a lot of experience. I had been licensed for 15 years. My experience was, I'd sold new construction, sat in a model home, worked with people that walked in, and then I worked with a trustee and did a lot of like bank owned short sales, just distressed properties. So I knew a lot about the construction and a lot with working with the banks and just negotiations. But as far as, and I flipped properties too, so I knew that side too, and the investment side. But as far as like knowing systems and conversions and how to have these conversations, like that was more what I struggled with. I remember doing Bold. I don't know if any of y'all have done Bold, but you get out of Bold and you're like, you have all these great scripts and you can set an appointment, and then you go on the appointment and you're up against 3 people, and how do you win it? So just having these tools to be able to succeed and, get a buyer call and actually know what to say to them and be able to set an appointment with them. That was huge for me.
Awesome. Good stuff. Brett, how about for you, man?
Before joining the team, I held my license at a different brokerage firm. It's a really large brokerage firm and very, very good and strong reputation. And I actually was using a full week of my vacation days while I still had my other full-time job at that time. And I found somebody at that brokerage that I was shadowing. In that first week, I remember when I was shadowing her, we'll call her Patty, just fantastic person, great human being. And I remember shadowing her, and on day one, I asked Patty, where do you get all of your business from? And she told me that a lot of her business was just from people that she had known from church and her church friends in that community. And then I asked, my follow-up question to that was, well, what happens with your business when all of that goes away? Where do you go next? And I had no transactions at this time either, and didn't have a large group of friends or anything like that I could pull from. And she said in her response, I haven't really thought about that yet. And as the rest of that week went on, finished up that entire week, went to one training that they offered at that firm, and went back to my full-time job. Still desired getting into real estate, doing it full-time. And I remember I would pick up those real estate magazines when you leave the grocery store. If you guys don't remember, those that are watching with us, if you don't remember grocery stores, those are the places, the buildings you could actually go to, and you got these shopping carts. It's not the little icon in the top right of your screen, right? So I was going to grocery stores, and I would pick up those magazines when you walk out that just have real estate listings in there. And I was maybe the only guy that picked those up. And I picked up every single time I would grab them. And I remember going through those magazines, and I started thinking to myself, like, wow, I see the same names in here. There were 2 or 3 individuals there. Every single time they were the guys that had all the listings. And I'm not talking about just 1 or 2 in there. It was every month's edition that came out, 15, 20 listings, same name every single time. And one of those guys in there was Dave. And I remember thinking to myself when I saw that name several months in a row, like, man, this guy has a lot of friends from church. So I got into a conversation with Dave after that. I shot him an email, and we got into a conversation, and just the things that Dave, when we sat down for what I thought was us having lunch together, Dave was on a juice cleanse. So I was the only one eating sushi that day. That was interesting. So I remember sitting down, and the things that Dave was chatting with me about just different tools and systems and structure and ideas of growth and expansion and all of this, it was nothing like I had ever heard of before. And that was when I realized that there was so much more to a career in real estate that had a lot of growth opportunity, which was exactly what I was looking for.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you met Dave and all of his church friends.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So I'm going to open this up to all of our panelists. And I want to dig into why exactly we're here today and learn about, how are you guys so successful? We're in a crazy market. Dave shared a lot about what's going on. I think we all came here today understanding, like, man, this is, it's a fun time to be in real estate, but it's also a really tough time to be in real estate, especially in finding sellers. So this is for all of you guys. How are you finding enough seller opportunities right now to go on 10 listing appointments a week when most agents are out there and are struggling to find one?
Well, I think one of the coolest parts about working with our team is we have the leverage of having an entire inside sales department that is doing a lot of our outbound lead generation for us. So, we still do a fair share of our own, but having that leverage to free up our time to focus on, other parts of the business is huge. But, for myself in particular, I like to leverage, my sphere and the people that I know, like my family, my friends, the people at my gym, church, stuff like that. Connecting with them, sending them, monthly handwritten notes, small gifts in the mail, just connecting with them, because I think the stat is about 100% of people know somebody that is going to move. So it can be tough to come by listings right now, but when you think about it, you probably know somebody that's going to move. Everyone knows somebody that's going to move at some point within the next 6 months. So just communicating with your database constantly, just reminding them that you're in real estate is one of the biggest things, because it's not your family, your friends. It's not their job to to feed you business. It's not their job to know that you're in real estate. It's just your job to remind them. So keeping in communication with them in all these different ways is huge, because they know somebody that's going to move. And when they think real estate, you want them to think your name.
Awesome. That's great, man. So really staying intentional with your database. I love what you said there. If your friends just think of you as a professional agent and a friend, a lot of people think that you can't do both of those things. And it sounds like you're doing a great job of them equally. So impressive, Owen. Good stuff.
Yeah, Owen, you've always got the most compelling statistics too. 100%. You can't argue that.
The numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
It's tough to argue with 100%, right?
Awesome. How about you, Lynette?
Leverage is definitely key. Like, I'd love to say I've set all my own appointments and negotiated all my own repairs and showed up to every inspection. There's not enough hours in the day for that. If you're doing 10 CMAs and going on 10 appointments, how much time do you have to prospect or to, try to negotiate these things? So the help that we have on the team is, it's invaluable to be able to have somebody just put appointments in your calendar that you're showing up to completely prepared for, and to be able to have a coordination team that can do all the marketing and get you set up and get a listing active, and then to negotiate the contracts and repairs and things. Like, it's huge. We wouldn't be able to do it by ourselves, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. So for you, Lynette, it's really a matter of tapping into the leverage, recognizing the truth is we all have the same amount of hours in our day, and you're spending time on the things that matter the most, the highest dollar producing activities that keep you in front of sellers on a regular basis. Is that right?
Yep, exactly.
Where are you getting those leads from?
Yeah, so we have prospecting pools. So anytime that I'm not, preparing for an appointment or going on an appointment, I can prospect. And so, we have FSBOs and expireds and FURBOs and probably a lot of the same lists that a lot of you guys are calling. But we have the full-time staff that's calling them all day long. So just the connection and the conversion, and we keep training consistently on converting them. So it's more likely we'll get that appointment set.
Awesome. Love it. What are some tips or strategies that you use to focus on sellers and win at every listing appointment that you go on?
Well, preparation is always the biggest key for me. I'll be honest, I've had my fair share of struggles over my first year in real estate. Just what I've learned from my failures, honestly, is that preparation and rapport are the two biggest things for me. So preparing for every appointment like it's $1 million listing, no matter what the opportunity is huge. So preparing as far as really just understanding what every single person that you're meeting with, what's their situation, what's their motivation. So you just understand how to help them as best you can. And you have an idea of what kind of objections they're going to throw at you, questions, so that you're just fully prepared. and then just building as much rapport as you can. At the end of the day, you can be as much of an expert on the market and real estate, as anybody, but if they don't like you, you're probably not going to get their business. So building rapport and being able to relate with them on a personal level on top of preparation just goes hand in hand for me as, the two biggest things that I like to focus on when I attack every opportunity that I come across.
Great answer, Owen. I want to dig in a little bit there on your preparation. Do you mind sharing a little bit of some of the things that you do to prepare to make sure? I mean, it sounds like if every appointment that you go on in your mind is $1 million listing appointment, there's probably a lot going on. I know when I'm about to go on a $1 million listing appointment, I'm spending a lot of time and thinking a lot and really analyzing the market, ensuring that I'm the professional. What are some of the things that you do there to make sure you're prepared?
Yeah, well, as far as analyzing the market, it's just looking at and doing a CMA, spending a couple hours looking at the data to make sure you truly understand what's going on. What's the average days on market? How many homes are currently on the market? Within that neighborhood, but also in the surrounding areas as well. So just being an expert on that data, and being able to relay it to them in a way that's easy to understand, because it may be easy. I may understand it on my end, but if I can't convey it to a seller in a way that's that they're able to understand easily, then it can be tough for me to really relate to them. So just understanding the data, and then it's really just digging into what's most important to them. So one question I always ask, my sellers before I meet with them is, what are the most important things about the sale of your home, or what are the most important things that we need to go over during our time together, so that I can bring the most value to you, and so that at the end of the day, this will be a 10 out of 10 experience. It's a really powerful question. It just really gets them thinking about, what is most important to them. And because they'll tell you, and, if you're not able to reveal what their deep core motivation is originally, asking that question and just digging deeper and deeper and deeper will help you reveal that before you even get a chance to sit down in front of them. And then when you do, you just understand how you can fully help them and match their needs.
Brilliant.
Man, that was awesome.
Yeah, so good, Owen.
All right. So what about the rapport part of it? A big part of your preparation ahead of time is actually understanding like what their motivation was. And I already forgot your script, and I think it was absolutely brilliant. How are you able to ensure that you're able to make it a 10 out of 10 experience for them? And that's such a powerful open-ended question, because it causes them to dig really deep in themselves to figure that out. And it gives you the key to the kingdom. What are some of the things that you do to develop rapport and really understand their motivation? Where do you get all that information from?
Well, I learned from everybody here. Honestly, you guys taught me how to do it, but just understanding their motivation is the biggest thing for me. So, what's the main reason you're thinking about making a move is always the one question we always ask. And then, okay, what's important about that to you? How would that impact you? Stuff like that, and just really digging deeper. Because if they say, I need to get out of this house because we need to downsize. There's more to that. They need to downsize because it's affecting their family, their overall happiness and stuff like that. So you want to dig as deep as you can to really understand that. And then as far as the rapport aspect goes, that's just getting to know them, just more on a personal level. We call it Ford. So family, occupation, recreation, dreams. If you can relate to them on one of those 4 levels, figuring out what their family likes to do, what they do for work, what they do in their free time, and then what their dreams are, find one of those things and relate to them. Ask them more questions about it, and you're most like you're going to get the listing if you're able to relate to them well on one of those levels.
Absolutely brilliant, man. I love it. In the back of my mind, I was thinking about the idea that, people make decisions based on their emotion, and then they justify them with their logic. And all I could think about the whole time that you were talking about that was that you're connecting with them emotionally and understanding their deep motivation that triggers that emotion. So
Yeah.
man,
And one of the, I will say is one of the biggest things is, I'm only a year into this role, and it's tough. I'm there are people that know more than me. There's people that are much more experienced. And they're honestly, you might say that they're better than me at the job. However, if you can build rapport with somebody and get them to really like you and trust you, you will get their business over somebody that may be more experienced, have more knowledge if they haven't built the same rapport. Because people want to work with people that they know, like, and trust.
Fantastic. I love it. Anything that anybody wants to add to this before I move on to the next question? What do the daily habits of a successful listing agent look like? What do you guys do on a regular basis?
We time block everything. We follow our calendars like a T. So, I mean, first thing in the morning, looking at your calendar to see what those most important things for the day are. If you have an appointment or two, just making sure that you're 100% prepped and ready for those. Have you done the CMA? Do you know their background? Are you able to jump right into the rapport? Are you completely prepared for that listing? As well as like having your presentation all ready to go so that you can open it up and be ready. Any offers I would say would probably be next. Like first thing I do when I get an offer is look at when it expires. Like how long do I have to negotiate this with my client, go through everything and make sure that we can get a response in a timely manner. So the money making activities kind of work your way down. And then if there's any, you want to look at prospecting time and make sure that you've worked in, time to build more business and set appointments.
Awesome. Love that. Anybody else have any daily habits that are winning for you that allow you to be successful on a consistent basis?
Well, I would say just outside of business, it's just a morning routine. Getting up and getting moving before you're able to get on the phones or to get in front of clients is the biggest thing. If you don't get the day off on the right foot, then the rest of my day I know is affected. On the days where I'm not able to get up on time, get my workout in, do my meditation, affirmation, stuff like that. There's a huge difference in my conversion rate and the amount of rapport I'm able to build and stuff like that, and just my overall production when I'm not doing the morning routine that I need to be doing.
Incredible. So setting your day up for success, you've got a morning routine, you get your mind in the right place as a result. And then Lynette, really time blocking out, making sure that you put the highest dollar producing activities first in your day and then prioritize thereafter. Do I have that right, guys?
Yeah.
So good. All right. I want to learn a little bit about some of the systems that y'all are using, on a daily basis. You're obviously busy. 10 seller appointments a week is a lot of business to handle. So what are some of the systems that you use on a daily basis to manage that seller business and ensure that you consistently have a steady flow of sellers to work with?
Yeah, so having an organized CRM is huge. So I know, we use Conversion. That's our CRM that we use, where we can add all of our leads. You can schedule all of your calls in one place. So at the beginning of each day, I'll go in and look at what kind of calls that I have, and then who I need to reach out to on this day based off previous conversations, etc. And then I'll time block some 30 minutes to an hour, however many calls I have that day in one part of the day, so that I know that when I get to from 1 to 1:30 on this day, I got to call these clients here. And it's all just added into one CRM, scheduled calls and all that stuff is the best way that I do it.
And then we have Trello for once we have somebody under contract, just keeping track of each transaction where we can all comment on a card. And so if there's something that we need to know about, like the closing date's been extended, we're all aware because we're all connected to each transaction. We can put notes in there and see there's timing on there where we can schedule a follow-up call every week if we need to touch base.
Perfect. Yeah, there's so many moving parts in real estate, and when you've got a lot of folks that are working together, to support one another and support the client and give them a high level of service, that communication becomes key. So you're using Trello to be able to communicate back and forth between your team members and always stay on top of what's happening with the client. Is that right?
Mhm.
Brilliant. I love that.
What about, I mean, one thing we've been talking a lot about, and I think would be really beneficial to everybody on here is like your weekly seller calls.
Yeah, I was gonna say like part of seller calls. It's not a daily habit, but it is a single day within each week. I mean, every single week, we've got a particular day where our day is dedicated, the entire day dedicated to contacting all of the signed clients that we've got, all of our sellers. And this happens also, we're documenting these calls consistently week over week in one of these systems called Trello that our team uses. And Trello is interesting in how we use that. It's all the way from the inception of a lead where our inside sales department sets us up, all the way to when we get them met and signed, all the way until it's under contract. And then our closing coordination team, which is another aspect of leverage within our team, where they come into play and really pick up the ball after we've scored, so to speak. But our seller calls, those are in the middle of both of those stages right there. And every single week, our calls it's our commitment that we make to our clients when we meet with them the very first time, where, the number one reason why most folks don't go back to their previous realtor who they've met with or worked with in the past is due to poor communication. And that means just as much to us as it does to them, because that's the number one reason why they're so generally so frustrated about their previous experiences. So that's our commitment, and we set that expectation. And every single week, we aim to exceed that expectation by communicating with these clients of ours that we've signed, even if they're not on the market yet, and they're prepping to get staging done, get their photography scheduled, and then after photos are done and the description is then typed up, and then it's ready for approval from our clients, and then it goes onto the market. Even through that process, sometimes it takes 3 days, sometimes it takes 3 weeks. It depends on the client's needs and interest in getting onto the market in any period of time. But especially when they're on the market, we're calling every single week to communicate with those clients what we see is taking place with the market. And when I say market and I'm communicating with my seller clients about the market, I have to make sure I'm articulating to them in a way that they actually understand that when I say market, I'm actually referencing the buyers, because the buyers are the ones that dictate the market. We just, as listing agents, have a little bit of sense of control because we supply inventory to the market, which is made up of buyers. So we communicate with them every single week about how many showings they've had in the last 7 days since we spoke last week. We also discuss the feedback that they've received. And you guys know how frustrating it can be sometimes when you've had, 5, 6, even 10 showings and you only get 2 submissions of feedback there. So we reach out and communicate with the agents that have not left us feedback to get some insight on how the showing went. Because at this point, if we hadn't seen an offer yet, then there's obviously some feedback where we can learn from that experience and provide that as insight to our sellers. But we talk about how many homes have gone under contract in the last period of time, 7 days since we spoke last week, how many showings we can actually see, how many showings other property listings that we're competing against in a particular area, how many showings they have had in relation or comparison to how many we have had. And we just have very compelling conversations with these folks week over week, so that we, being the experts, we're actually enabling our clients to become the expert in selling their home alongside us. So they're learning about all the information the same way that we are, because we're in the business, like you guys are all in the business, and we see different things happening. all that our clients can typically see or hear is what's on the news at 5 o'clock every single night or in Post and Courier about the real estate market. Yet they're wondering why every other home in the world is selling except for theirs sometimes. And that's our responsibility. And we just set the expectation and build the habit ourselves on a weekly basis to make sure we're communicating with those folks at least once a week and telling them and educating them about what the market is actually doing. Again, market being the buyers. What are the buyers doing? What are the buyers saying? What are they seeing? And what are we experiencing? And just educating our clients on that.
And it makes those hard conversations a lot easier when you have stats and numbers that you're going through with them. And, you know, you're not necessarily the bad guy when their home isn't selling or you need to ask for a price adjustment. And sometimes they're the ones coming to you saying like, oh, we probably need to adjust this based on, you know, everything you're telling them. Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions I was going to ask you guys is, you know, how you handle those difficult conversations. And I hear what you're saying, like, as you're continuing to stay in really close contact with your clients, you know, selling real estate sucks. It just does, right? Nobody says, like, wakes up one day and says, man, I cannot wait to sell my house. I can't wait to have a whole bunch of people track their muddy boots through the house. And I can't wait to make the kids' beds for the next 10 days in a row and board the dogs and all that stuff. There's a lot of emotion that goes into that. So how do you handle that emotion? Because truly that's our responsibility, right? We've got to manage that and help our clients maintain a clear, logical mindset during one of the most emotionally stressful times of their lives. How are you guys handling that?
Third-party testimonials go a long way, telling them stories of past clients that have been through very similar situations and what they did and how they overcame it. And then, you know, really the numbers to keep them updated, as long as you're in that constant communication so that they're not in the dark and wondering like what's going on. You know, I just had 5 showings and I haven't heard anything, like what's happening. As long as you're communicating with them, then, you know, they're fairly happy.
Great, love it. So the seller calls those weekly communication, staying on top of it, you're almost interrupting that emotion that goes on, and you're helping to re-guide them back toward keeping their minds on the most important thing and their ultimate objective. That's awesome. You guys are brilliant. All right, Lynette, I want to ask you a question. How do you differentiate yourself from your competitors? You know, you talked about in the beginning that, you know, after getting out of Bold, you would go on these listing appointments. You're like, I've got a script, I've got everything I need, and I've got 12 competitors next to me. So you're winning on a consistent basis now. How? What are you doing to differentiate yourself?
I mean, one thing is just being relentless for sure. I'm always, as far as prep, like I'm, you know, if you have to listen to music or self-talk as you're going to your appointment, like just pumping yourself up so that you're walking into that appointment like ready to rock. And, you know, I always tell people no one does more marketing than we do. And so like going through our marketing and showing them here's our steps and our process and what we do. And then if they're interviewing other agents, I'll do a side-by-side comparison and let our numbers talk. You know, we can pull up how we compare to other agents and let them decide for themselves, like, okay, you know, this is how they're performing. The rapport is huge. That's the very first thing, you know, when you're going in, is just, if you can out-front them, then, you know, you're winning. And just not giving up, making sure that you close and close again and ask the question again, and just know that you're not leaving until, you know, you're getting that signature.
Love it. That's awesome. And we've got some new agents on here. What's the question that you ask again and again?
So are you ready to list with me?
Close.
You don't want to work with me? Should we hit the home or hit the market tomorrow?
That's awesome.
Yes.
I love it. You know, you brought something up there about your mindset, as you're preparing for your appointment. Maybe it's pump up music or whatever the case is. Mindset is a really important thing. They say, what you focus on expands, and it truly does. So what are your mindsets, all of you guys, when you're walking into a listing appointment?
I've already got it signed. It's already signed. I sit in the car. I am jamming to some music. Typically, I don't change songs or anything like that. 10 minutes out at least, I don't even answer the phone. I go on do not disturb, no phone calls, nothing interrupts me. And before I get out of the car, I do habitually just take a sniff of peppermint essential oil. I've anchored that in, so every single time it's kind of like a trigger for me that I just get into flow state at that point. It's just automatic for me, and just walk up and I've already got it signed. I know exactly how the play is going to be run. I know exactly how things are going to go the entire time. And it's rare when it goes off course. I just have the destination set in my GPS from the time that I get out of the car until I leave the home with a listing agreement signed. So it's I walk in just knowing I've already got it signed, and I'm about to be these clients of mine. I'm going to be their new best friend, and they're about to see that themselves too.
Love it. Great answer. All right. Let's see what time we're at here. All right. I want to make sure we save some time for questions and answers. Okay, we've got a bunch coming through the chat right now. So real quick, anybody, you guys can drop your questions in. Now's a really good time to make sure we get them covered at the end. So I want to get one thing that you do in your business. Brett, you just gave yours away. It's your peppermint.
Yeah.
But what's one thing that you do in your business that might surprise us?
I do a lot of exploring. It probably seems weird. So for instance, I went on a listing appointment it was a condo that was like right on the marsh in Hanahan. It was just this like weird little pocket. And when I left the appointment, I just drove through the neighborhood, and there's all these like $1 million homes right on the water that you wouldn't even know it was there. And so of course I'm like pulling up pricing, and like I'm all curious about it. And so I'm always just checking out different areas. And I mean, even if I'm doing a CMA, like I'll see one that's like an outlier, and I'm like, well, why did that sell for so low? Or why did that sell for so much money? Like, what's different about it? So then I'm like going through photos and things, trying to figure it out. And like, I don't know, sometimes I go off on a bit of a tangent, but it's interesting to me. And I guess I learn more about the area and educate myself that way.
Love that. Oh, and how about you?
The people on the team know I'm a big TikTok guy. I like to use TikTok to promote my business. I think there's a really cool opportunity on there. So I actually post daily content on there, weekly content, weekday content on there. Sorry, I take breaks over the weekend, but I use TikTok to promote my business. I'm having some good success with it so far.
Oh, man, love that. For those of you who don't know, it's Owen's birthday today, and I've been waiting all day for him to do a TikTok birthday dance, and he hasn't done it for us yet. So hopefully, if we're all lucky, he'll do it by the end of this webinar.
I'm not sure there's much value I can bring to the audience here with my dancing skills, but.
Oh, that's good. All right, I love it. Dave, how about you, man?
One thing, so Owen touched on that. I think there's a lot of realtors out there that decide they're going to like be the best professional in the industry and the expert, and nobody's going to know more than them. And then there's other people that are just really good at like out-friending everyone. They're going to go out there and, they have a lot of friends, they have a big network, and so they gain business that way. And, I think one thing that our group really prides ourselves on is that, we do both really, really well. We're really committed to like out-friending everybody. And then we're also committed to being, the expert in the industry. And one thing I like absolutely love to do on appointments is, some people might find kind of strange. I think that was like part of your question was, Matching and mirroring is really important in building rapport with people and building relationships and things like that. And so I used to do this thing. I wouldn't be able to get there every single time, but if I would try to get the people that I was talking to match and mirror me. And people do it subconsciously when they really like you and there's a lot of rapport built and they don't even realize that you're doing it. And so if I could take it this far, I always thought it was really funny to me. And like, it was like a personal challenge that I had. But when I was like at an appointment talking to somebody, we'd be in their kitchen or whatever. And when I felt like I was at that point with them, I would start whispering to them. And then I would like bring my voice back up again. And then when they would respond to me, they would actually like start whispering to me too. And there was no reason for me to whisper or for them to whisper, but they're matching what I'm doing. And it just kind of confirmed that, I had that kind of relationship with them and they're subconsciously matching what I'm doing and mirroring what I'm doing. And it was more of like a personal challenge that was like, I don't know, it's kind of fun for me. So
I think back to all the times I've probably been mirroring you.
Hey, Dave, why didn't you get that listing signed? Oh, well, the guy couldn't hear me while I was talking because I was just kept trying to whisper.
Yeah, I was whispering too much.
Too funny. I love it. All right. So let's get some questions on here. There's some really good questions. And again, feel free to drop them in here. But this is for everybody. Do you think owners with locked low interest rates will move up, will be move up sellers and buyers once rates start to increase?
I can take that one. I think that I read that and I thought about that. It's a really good question. I think most people are, unless you're paying cash, most people are basing their budget off their monthly payment. They're not necessarily thinking price. They're not necessarily thinking rates, and I think, of course, that's part of the equation and they're acknowledging where rates are and they're acknowledging, the price of homes and stuff like that. But when it really comes down to it, it's about what they can afford per month. So having said that, if they can afford something and the home makes sense and the payment makes sense, it doesn't really matter what the rate is. So I think in the future, when rates do increase, and I don't think from what I'm reading, I don't think they're going to for the next 5 years or so. Maybe they're going to fluctuate from where they are right now to like 4.5, maybe 5, but I think they'll stay under that for the next 5 years. But I don't think it matters. I think when rates go up a quarter point or a half a point, people, really freak out and they think that rates are super high now. And then a month goes by and it's normal again. So I think as rates inch up over time, you're going to have people that, start hyperventilating over rates going up and homes becoming more expensive. And then a month goes by and it's the new normal. And people just look at their payment on a regular basis. So to answer your question, I don't think so. I think you're going to hear people complain about it. And it might seem like people are putting off their home search because of it. However, when somebody moves, as Evan mentioned earlier, they don't do it for fun. Nobody enjoys moving. It's just not a fun process, right? I mean, it's exciting to think about the next home you're moving into and that kind of thing in your future. But, they're usually moving because something is really motivating them. It's either creating a better future, or it's getting rid of a mess that they currently have, their home's too big or too small or whatever it happens to be. And so as long as their motivation is high enough and the payment works out for them, I think they're going to go ahead and make that move no matter what interest rates are.
Awesome. Somebody had asked to repeat that for me to repeat that question. Dave was just answering if folks that have locked low interest rates, once the interest rates go up, are they actually going to become buyers and sellers in the market? Awesome. Great job with that, Dave. What do y'all recommend for people that do not have the type of leverage that you do, or who just aren't there yet in their business?
It's a tough question to answer. It's a really good question. It depends on where you're at in your business and what your goals really are. I think it's important to set a goal and then be able to reach certain milestones along the way. And at a certain point when you've hit one of those milestones, if that means that you need to have another resource that's available to you and find some leverage, there's ways to go about utilizing leverage that doesn't have to be in the format like our team has. There's tons of different resources out there for technology, virtual assistants that are relatively inexpensive, but nearly anything and everything can be automated in the technology world that we live in now. So it depends on what your goals really are. It's hard to give a true dead set answer to that. But if you recognize what your goals are, and then you chunk all of those things down to see what the true path is for you, you at least know what your North Star is. And then you have an idea on how you can get there by simply chunking that down from an annual basis to a quarterly basis, and then a weekly basis and daily. And those become your day-to-day habits and routines. And if you recognize at a certain point that you hit a roadblock, you just have to reflect on what it is that may be causing that. And is there a who, or is there a system or a piece of technology or some form of leverage that may make things a little bit easier for you, in which something else can do those tasks that are holding you back from really achieving the next step in your goals?
I would say like talk to and mirror other agents and teams too. Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel, see what other agents are doing. When did they need help in their business, and like how many transactions can one person do, and kind of scale off of what other teams and people have done.
That's great, Lynette. Yeah, I'm fortunate in that I get to speak with some of the top producing agents in the markets on a regular basis. And consistently, the story that I hear is, I just did exactly what everybody else that was really good at it was doing around me. And I just stalked them, and I was really annoying, and now we're best friends. And there's so much to that.
Yeah. And I think there's so much truth in that. There's like, somebody, I'm probably going to butcher this, but I heard somebody say one time that, there's no new conversations out there. There's like hardly any new like books that are written with anything that's like anything new. It's just information that's processed a little bit differently and put back out there again. So having said that, like we're definitely not doing anything that hasn't been done before. I think we pride ourselves on aligning with people that are like really smart in the industry, have created, a proven track record at doing something that we also want to do. So we'll just go out and, like Evan said, align ourselves with them, learn what they're doing, how they're doing it, see what we can do to provide value back to them. And we call it R&D. We rip off and duplicate. And we allow a lot of people to do that from us too. We have an open door with people that might call us and want to have lunch or just figure out how we're successful at one thing or another. And so we always like to try to pay it forward, knowing that, we're going to need something from somebody else in the future. And I think there's a lot of people that come from an abundance mindset and they're willing to share. And there's some people that don't and are not willing to. So I think it's just a matter of like aligning yourselves with the people that have the abundance mindset and are willing to share. So that way you can R&D for yourself.
Love it. Yeah, if there's anything that we are really good at, it's finding stuff that somebody else already does well and just taking it and saying, okay, we're going to do the same thing. And I say that very proudly because it works. All right, speaking of R&Ding and ripping off and duplicating and wanting to share with others, a couple of things I want to share with you guys real quick. Really good stuff. Anybody who is on here, first off, we want to send you guys our Google Drive, and a lot of the stuff that everybody talked about on here is in this drive. Systems, tools, stuff that we have figured out. We've been at this for a long time. I think we failed in every way that we can, and we continue to do so to continue to improve and fail forward. And so we want to share a lot of that content with y'all. And so I'm going to tell you exactly how you can do that. I think there's such an amazing amount of content in there that is going to change your business. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. There's a couple of really important things I just want to run through. And that is, first off, the truth is we have way more leads on our team right now than everybody here can handle. And we're actively looking for people that want to either prospect those leads in our inside sales department or as realtors to help convert those appointments to happy clients. So if you're interested or you know anybody that would be a good fit, please contact me. You can find out everything that you'd want to know about our team on our website as well. It's davefriedmancoaching.com. I'll drop it into the chat. That's davefriedmancoaching.com. I'm also going to drop my personal phone number in there, which is 843-800-2960. If anybody here, if one of you guys want to just drop that info in the chat, that'd be awesome. And I want to tell you, if you do know of anybody that you think might be a good fit for our team, we're giving away $1,000. And the way that works is you just let me know, hey, I've got somebody that I think would be an awesome fit for your team. They're a licensed real estate agent. If they join our team and they're with us for 90 days or more, on their 90th day, I'll send you $1,000 check as a thank you for connecting us. And that's how serious we are about being in business with the right folks. Then lastly, I'm going to send out a survey. And that survey, it's super quick. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to complete. Once you've completed that survey, I'm going to send you our Google Drive. So you'll have all this content that we've been talking about all literally packaged up for you. That's the easiest way to rip off and duplicate. We want to share with you guys. We want to help the real estate community just as so many others have helped us to get where we are today. And if there's anything that we can do to positively impact you or your business, just let us know. Also, if there's any topics that you want us to talk about in the future, we're doing these things regularly and we just want to continue pouring into the community. So let us know, include that in your survey. And I think that's about everything I've got. I'm going to drop all this information into the chat right now. So you guys have it all. Boom, there you go. 843-800-2960 is the best number. As soon as I'm done here, I'll be available. You can call me, you can text me on that. That's my personal number. careers@davefriedmanteam.com is the email. And then everything you want to know about our team and more is at davefriedmancoaching.com. If there are no more questions in the chat here. All right, looks like we got everything. We get everything, guys?
Looks like there's one more actually.
Yeah, one more. The prospecting one, Owen, is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, where do you direct most of your prospect energies to? I can take that one. It's, it's all the normal. Well, we do a lot of the normal stuff that a lot of you probably have heard about, which is like Realtor. We buy a lot of leads on Realtor.com. We buy a lot of leads on Zillow. Like what Evan's talking about is, we have an abundance of leads, and one of the categories that we have a ton in is Zillow, and we're about to get quadruple the amount of leads that we get through Zillow over the next 30 days or so. And so part of our plan is to help get some people to help us convert those. But we also generate, so as far as inbound stuff, it's like Realtor, Zillow, we're on the radio. We do a lot of direct mail. So we target people that we think are going to potentially sell their home. And so we create these like mailing lists. We're dropping somewhere around like 1,000 letters a week to people that we think will potentially sell. So we're creating those like inbound phone calls that we can convert to listing appointments. And then some of the like colder stuff that's a little bit more outbound is like we do generate a lot of Facebook leads, a lot of leads on Facebook that are mostly buyer. Same with pay-per-click. We've always done that. I've always done really well with that. Database is super important. So building a database, nurturing it, communicating to it, providing value to it is also something that's super important. And so it's a lot of traditional stuff that y'all have, I'm sure, heard of. And like I said, we're not doing anything that's like really too far out of the box. There's some like unique value propositions that we have, like getting people multiple offers at our first appointment and things like that. And that's more to generate, curiosity with sellers to give us a call. But we're getting in touch with them through, and generating leads through all the same stuff that y'all have probably heard about, which is finding cold data of people likely to sell, using social media, email, text message, direct mail, and then buying leads from some of the bigger lead providers that are out there, like Realtor, Homes.com, Zillow, that kind of thing. And then obviously we're really big into branding. I think that's one thing that really helps our team too, is that when people Google us, you know, if we set an appointment or somebody wants to get curious around us, they Google us. We have like over 1,000 5-star online reviews, a lot of content on the web already. So it helps people get like pre-sold on our team before they even talk to us. And so because we're putting a lot of information out there to help people become aware of what we do and who we are, a lot of people just kind of stumble across that in the web when they're trying to find somebody to help them list their home. And so that stuff generates some business for us also. So we're constantly working on just getting stuff out there. Which markets are we in? We're in Myrtle Beach, Charleston, and also Charlotte.
Love it. Awesome. Hey, I'm going to drop another link in the chat for everybody too. If you got a lot of value added today, that's a link. It's literally links to a bunch of different webinars that we're hosting on a regular basis. So if you got a lot of value added today, you're for sure going to get a lot of value out of many of these others. And we'd love to just, extend that invite. Feel free to join. And we've got different panels on different topics, and just, again, trying to continue to pour into the real estate community at large. Folks, thank you all so much. This has been awesome. You guys are all fantastic and have provided immense value. I know I got a whole bunch of notes on my end, and I hope everybody else did as well. So thank you all for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Evan, for putting this together. This is fun.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
All right, guys, everybody take care.
Bye.